Hey TCSTV viewers, it's Dave and Evelyn from the camera store. Today we have a hands-on look at Panasonic's latest S5 camera.
We want to know if this full-frame camera is a good replacement for our favorite video camera, the Panasonic GH5.
Panasonic S5 features a 24 megapixel full-frame sensor. It's the same sensor found on the S1 and the S1H in a much smaller, more cost-effective package.
Yeah, and this has intrigued us for that reason, but also because it's an S5, and the name suggests that it's in line with the Panasonic GH5. And we love this camera for a lot of the features that it has, excellent video assist tools, really clean 4K, and we want to know if this camera in the full frame format is going to make the cut for our kit. One of the key exciting features that caught my attention with the Panasonic S5 announcement is the re-engineered autofocus system. Of course, at first I thought maybe they went away with the contrast detect autofocus for video, but it's still here. The one thing they did though is they readjusted all of the algorithms, they put in new technology and better tracking abilities for continuous tracking autofocus. Now for us, we have a videographer that's excellent with racking manual focus. He's good at it, he's quick, and it's just part of our everyday workflow. However, if you're someone that isn't used to manually racking focus, it can be a very tedious process. And so having a camera that has good autofocus for video seems like kind of a no-brainer. It's working excellently. Now there are a few caveats to that. We found that the best performance is when you're in the cropped Super 35 or APS-C mode, and that's in both 4K 60, 4K 30. We've said for a long time that we would consider replacing our GH5 cameras if we could find something that had the similar tools, inputs, video assist features, but with good autofocus, and I think this could be it.
We've been spending some time this morning shooting some video clips, and they look really nice and clean out of the S5, and that's no surprise. Panasonic is well known for their video quality. Now with the S5, we do have 4K in 24 and 30 in 422 10-bit, and also we have 4K in 60 and 420 in 10-bit. Just keep in mind, you are limited to a 2959 record limit. If you step it down to 8-bit, we can go to no record limit. On the top mode dial, we have S and Q, which stands for slow and quick. Now, if we like shooting slow motion, this is fantastic because we can go up to 180 frames per second in full HD. We do give up some of the frame though. We are shooting in APS-C mode, but it's very cool to have that option available to us. With our GH5, we have the luxury of a whole bunch of different codecs, up to 400 megabits per second all-I, which has been great for our editing. This camera here, it's a production hardware camera, but it's pre-production firmware. And we're seeing a max rate of 150 megabits per second, which is going to be a little tougher on our editing suite. Now, we all know how Panasonic does their updates. We saw that with the GH5 when it first came out. They had a firmware update not long after, which brought it up to all these brand new codecs. So I would certainly expect Panasonic has got some surprises up their sleeve. They're going to release some new firmware.
Physically, the S5 looks a lot like the GH5. It's a lot smaller than the other S-series cameras. It doesn't have that built-in cooling system in the S1H, and so it's saving a lot of the bulk. But this camera is nicely weather sealed, and so it can be in a lot of different environments. It should be good in the cold for the Canadian winters. I think that this camera, it speaks well to how Panasonic does a really intuitive layout, but everything is right where you want it to be. On the still photography side, you have dedicated buttons for things like exposure compensation, white balance, ISO, and for video, you have a dedicated record button. Some of the things that we also like about it include the fully articulating screen. This is really nice for video capabilities, and it has all of the inputs that we want as well. One thing that you lose from the GH5 is the full HDMI port. This camera now has a micro HDMI port, and that's just not as rugged as we'd like to see in the full HDMI ports. But you do have headphone jack, microphone jack, and for the video assist tools, I love that we're able to monitor our audio using levels right on the camera. And so For us, we use the XLR adapter on our GH5. We can use it on this camera and we can monitor those audio levels to make sure everything looks correct. I also like that we have other video assist tools, including focus peaking, which is very important for doing any kind of manual focusing, which we do a lot of on the GH5. And we have things like zebras and a histogram for still photography. So a lot of really great tools that will help you with your exposure, your focusing, and just your overall capture. I also like the ergonomics of this camera. I think that everything is really well laid out, and it's nice to see that we have dual card slots for backing up your footage. However, on this camera, only one of the slots is UHS 2 compatible, and so the other one is only UHS 1 compatible, and so that may actually slow down your write speed when you're doing a full backup. Another interesting decision is that they've put in a new battery in this camera that promises to be more energy efficient with a higher CEPA rating than the other S-series cameras. Above all else though, one of the most important features for us is the in-body image stabilization. And the reason why we love this is because we like to do a lot of run and gun style video work. A lot of the time Brendan uses a monopod, sometimes a gimbal, but often you'll see him actually just holding the camera in his hand and working around us. And so it's nice to have that in-body image stabilization for video and still photography as well. And I think it's absolutely key that for their entry point to the full frame lineup, they've kept in this in-body image stabilization.
As much as we love our GH5 for its video capabilities, the whole Micro Four Thirds system has never been as good in low light situations. Full frame sensors will always outperform a Micro Four Thirds sensor when it comes to low light, just strictly due to the surface area of the much larger sensor. When it comes to stills with the S5, it's a great hybrid camera. We have all the benefits of a full frame sensor, better ISO performance, and the great aesthetic that you get from a larger sensor. I also love that they have in-body image stabilization and they've implemented their high resolution mode. If 24 megapixels is not enough resolution for you, you have the ability to go into their high res mode, which gives you 96 megapixels. Panasonic didn't bring out just a brand new body, but they brought out a brand new lens as well to go with it. The S5 is a slightly smaller body than the S1 and the S1R, and they brought out a nice lens that kind of complements it quite well. It's the brand new 20 to 60, 3.5 to 5.6 variable aperture lens, and it certainly doesn't have the same fit and finish of the 24 to 105, but it certainly doesn't come at the same price point. I'm pleased with the image quality I'm seeing from this lens, and it pairs very nicely with the S5 as a kit combination. My impressions of this camera is it's shaping up to be a very good hybrid camera. I'm enjoying it more than I was expecting to. Quite honestly, I heard it's lighter weight, it's a lower price point, and I'm a snob, so I'm thinking, okay, let's check this thing out. And I'm finding I'm liking it more than I thought I would. I like that it's a full frame sensor in a much smaller form factor, and I like that it's very much a hybrid camera. Like, I'm comfortable switching between video and stills, more so than some other brands on the market.
Yeah, I definitely think that Panasonic needed this camera to really flesh out the lineup, and I'm glad to see that a lot of the same tools that we love are built into this camera. And so you're not sacrificing too much when you go down to this more entry-level camera for the S-series lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact they've got the dual memory cards, they've got the microphone and the headphone input. They've really thought of everything.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is the autofocus adjustment. Although this isn't industry-leading autofocus, we're still using a contrast-based autofocus system and depth from defocus for still photography, but the refinements that they've made are the best that we've seen so far from Panasonic, and it is worlds better. It's able to nail focus a lot faster, and on the video side of things, we're not seeing as much of that hunt and that pulse that we've seen in previous cameras.
Yeah, what I'm finding is that I really like this sensor. I really like how clean the 4K is. It's great quality as we expect from Panasonic.
Yeah, it's up to our standard. And this is the thing, I mean, with the GH5 camera, I can't count the number of times that we've been complimented on the look and quality and color of the video footage that comes out of the GH5. Panasonic has excellent video quality overall, and as Dave mentioned, it's clean, it's sharp, and has very little rolling shutter, and so we're happy to see that this has been consistent in the S-series as well.
I, for one, like the size of this camera. It's
what?
Oh, it's you know.
Dave likes a smaller camera?
I usually like the bigger, beefier cameras, but I'm enjoying what they've done with this camera. They've packed a ton of stuff into this full-frame sensored camera in a much smaller form factor.
Yeah, well, and I mean, for international travel, if that becomes a thing again, we like to bring our cameras on with us, and so it's nice. It can make a difference between having to check your gear or being able to bring it on as carry-on, and so keeping a nice compact system is very important for video especially. And we want to know, what do you guys think? Would you consider this as a hybrid camera for doing content creation? Are you looking for something more on the video side to replace maybe a GH5 or some other system? Let us know by commenting below.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram.
And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can catch you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out more of our reviews, you can check out our latest by clicking up here. And if you want to support us and you're in Canada, you can shop from the camera store by clicking down here.